It all.
Watch in depth to find out. Only on Mzansi for sure.
Well, it's a Sunday just after 6 o'clock, and that means it's election debate time here on SAFM, SABC 1, Channel 404, and SABC News Online. Welcome to this evening's debate. Tonight we're coming to you live from the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, our partners for this evening's debate, alongside the University of Johannesburg. Well, without much ado, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. We're going to go straight into it with this insert prepared for us by Tammy Dixon.
This mud school in Ncinkwane village in Ngamakwe in the Transkei perhaps epitomizes the most acute education challenges in the Eastern Cape. Built by the election, but with only over 100 learners in this school and a shortage of teachers and desks, the question really remains whether it is viable and even sustainable to call this a school. Out of frustration, the school principal took the Department of Education to court. He's been a teacher here for 19 years.
Because the government has promised us to build the school many times. So now the local resources have come to assist us so that we can push the government to build the school.
It's a gross violation of the learners' rights to basic education. We've recently filed a new application where we are asking the department to publicize a complete list of all of the mud schools in the province with a complete plan as to when those schools will be dealt with, what money will be used to eradicate those mud schools.
Court battles over shocking school conditions, non-payment of temporary teachers, and vacant teaching posts have raged for years in this province. In fact, the Department of Education is currently facing a 90-day court order compelling it to provide furniture to poor schools by end of May.
The magistrate was very harsh on us, but I can assure you the magistrate, through our interaction of the defense, opened up a door that says, beginning of May, if you will be unable to meet this, come forward to say what plan is there to be able to deliver furniture. And as I'm speaking with you now, we're busy interacting both with the provincial government and national government to say, as a department on our side, at the moment we're challenged with resources.
But there are glimmers of hope. While the Eastern Cape remains at the bottom of other provinces in matric results, several new state-of-the-art schools with impressive necessary resources have been built in some villages in the Transkei. 49 schools have been built so far in the Eastern Cape, out of a whopping 500 mud structures waiting to be eradicated. Tammy Dixon, SABC News.
Well, that insert by Tammy Dixon. Let me start with Ms. Naledi Pando, who is the chairperson of the ANC's Committee on Education. Welcome, ma'am, and thanks very much for joining us this evening. Not a flattering picture, I'm afraid, of the state of education, not only in this province, but the problems we saw in that insert are actually seen across the nation.
Well, certainly, and good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity. The African National Congress would be the first to admit that there continue to be many problems. But at the same time, the ANC is able to show the nation that we have plans. As Tammy Dixon indicated, there are 165 schools currently planned. 125 of those schools are to be built in the Eastern Cape. We have an accelerated infrastructure development initiative for schools. 44 schools have already been built, and we will be delivering even more. The African National Congress believes a great deal of progress has been made in education, and we will continue to make that progress. That is our undertaking to the nation. We have a good story to tell. Success is beginning to be seen, and we believe the platform we have built is going to set us onto a higher trajectory of success. So I believe that much school that we have seen must surely be one of the 125.
Thank you very much. Farouk Kasim is, of course, a member of the Executive Committee of the Congress of the People.
Vuyo, the situation in our education is that the system is in a crisis. This year, the government is going to reduce expenditure on infrastructure in education by 1.2 billion rands. So where will this development come from if the amount of money is going to be reduced? In our country, 25% of the schools are performing satisfactorily. 75% are not. If you take the rate of continuation, 35% of black kids and 32% of colored kids complete matric. The rest fall off. You call that progress? Not by our measure. Absolutely not. Our education system is a high cost and a low output education system. Kenya, Mauritius, and even the SADC countries are outperforming us. We spend 31% of our budget, but what do we produce? The mountain produces a molehill.
Thank you very much,
Unfortunately,
Mr.
we're not happy with it.
Mr. Kasim is from the Congress of the People. Dr. Wilmot James, the chairperson of the Democratic Alliance, your party's position on the state of education in this country.
Well, good evening to everybody. Let me just also thank you for the opportunity. I want to start off by saying that the Democratic Alliance is committed to quality education as the most important lever for progress for all. And we believe in providing a safe, secure, and supported environment for our school system so that our children can learn those skills they need to acquire in order to navigate the modern world. Let me say that the commitment is to an unremitting and unrelenting commitment to quality in every stage of the education process. Training of teachers, hiring of teachers, management of schools, delivering of the curriculum, delivering of textbooks, the setting of exams, the monitoring of exams, and the marking of exams. And most importantly, is to make sure that the children who enter into grade 1 complete their education by the time they get to grade 12. The statistic is that 34% of the kids who enter grade 1 actually matriculate. That is the real figure.
You, Dr. James, to hold your thoughts right there. Your time is up. Well, I'm going to turn now to the president of the Azanian People's Organization, Mr. Chek Kobo. Your party's opening comments.
Thank you very much, and good evening to the viewers and the listeners at home. Basically, stumbled from one crisis to another since 1994, a system that has been changing, basically drastic changes every 5 years, therefore affecting the morale of educators. We are talking about a situation that referred to classrooms now. We are talking of a country that is unable to deliver books. We're talking about a country that spends more on per capita, but is third from last in comparison to in 63 countries. Infrastructure. But I think the worst thing for us is that we have a citizenry that now has even resorted to courts of law in order to have what is rightfully theirs. Our people are going to court to get textbooks. Our people are going to court to get schools built because they have lost confidence in those who are in power.
Thank you very much. Chek Kobo is the president of the Azanian People's Organization. I'm going to ask now Ms. Pumza Malifane from the United Democratic Movement to give us her party's opening remarks.
As the UDM, we have a very, very good and fine policy on education. We intend improving schools. We intend restoring the dignity of the teaching profession. We intend to look at the problems which have caused the current system of education to be in a state of collapse. For example, we will look first at the finances, the building of the schools, because the Constitution guarantees that no one should be kept in conditions which are inhuman and degrading, just like the children in that school in Ngamakwe. We pledge that with the UDM, that will be a thing of the past. We also intend supporting teachers.
Your time is up, Ms.
Teachers are very demoralized.
Thank you very much. Well, before we proceed with this debate, I'm going to ask someone who is sitting in our audience here from the University of the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, Mr. Ivo Bachis. Having listened, Mr. Bachis, to these parties, do you think they have a finger on the pulse? I mean, your academic has been doing work in education. Your academics have been doing a lot of research work. They have looked at what these parties have to offer. But of course, as academics in their own right and as people who are playing in this area, they have a sense of what is good for our nation. Do you think these political parties have a finger on the pulse?
Thank you, Rip. I think these are all very nice opening comments from the different political parties. But I don't seem to hear anything new. They all seem to agree that there is a crisis. I'm not sure whether the ANC is referring to the problems and the plans around accelerated actions and so on as part of a crisis. But quite clearly it seems to me that there's an agreement that there are serious problems with the education system. And I think what has been summarized from the different political parties seem to look at plans, of which we have seen many in the past. We hear of the quality issue within education, which is also a common comment often referred to in the media and elsewhere. And then we hear of all the elements within the education system that need to be fixed. Perhaps there are two things that needs to be highlighted. The first one is for us also need to do is to hear a little bit more. The focus seemed to be very much on schooling. The education system is much broader. We have early childhood development, adult education, FET colleges, and so on. So we need to hear a little bit more from them about those subsectors too. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ivo Bachis. Mr. Bachis is, of course, from our host institution, the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back right after this.
Capitec Bank is asking why to simplify banking. Do you know what your bank costs are?
I don't know, but I know it's too much.
At 65 Rand?
Between 200 and 250.
I don't, but I know it's too much. It's too much, yeah.
Why don't you switch banks?
Switch?
Yeah, way too much of a hassle, my man.
We help 100,000 people open accounts at Capitec Bank every month. If you haven't joined us yet, ask why.
Respect isn't commanded, it's earned.
This is the program in which we showcase different aspects of government.
The Northern Cape is a land of many diverse cultures, of frontier history and brave missionaries. It also has countless challenges.
The Northern Cape has been plagued by especially alcohol abuse, rape and common assault and things like that.
More opportunities are being created each year to benefit all in the region.
This is a nation at work.
With so many bad incidents happening around us, we continue sourcing, unpacking and televising nation-building and compassionate stories. From the nation's pride, those who go all out, top achievers, hard workers, those dedicated to making this country a better place, and unusual friendships. Catch all these and more on SABC News.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you are listening and watching to a live debate coming to you from the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University in Port Elizabeth. They are our partners for this evening's debate in conjunction or alongside the University of Johannesburg. Tonight, we're talking about education, and remember that you at home can, of course, form part of this discussion. You can send us emails. The address is elections@sabc.co.za. Elections@sabc.co.za. You can also send us an SMS. The number is 33726. That number again, 33726. SMS costs R1.50. Start with the word vote. Tweets, it's SABC Elections. Now, let me come to you, Ms. Pando. You heard what the other political parties had to say. And I'm sure as the ANC's subcommittee on education, you do sit and look at these problems. From where you're sitting, why are we where, by your own acknowledgement, we are not where we are supposed to be? What are the problems? Why? Is it what these parties are saying are in fact the problem?
Well, certainly some of the problems are as indicated by these parties, but of course they have to pull out all the negative. Let me refer to the facts. Firstly, in grade R, as Dr. Bachi said, let's talk about other sectors. We've increased enrollment from 300,000 in 2003 to 790,000 in 2013. In further education and training, there's been an extraordinary effort in skills development at the FET college level. College student headcount enrollments doubled from 345,000 in 2010 to 657,690 in 2012. Teacher education investment, I could go on and on. The list of success is quite immense.
But here's a question.
We have a history that all of us must acknowledge. Let's be honest and acknowledge the history and then talk about the advances we have made, and we have plans as the African National Congress to make further advances.
I'm going to ask you, Dr. James, you want to respond directly to what you're saying? Yes, speak, Dr. James.
What sets the DA and the ANC apart? What sets the DA and the ANC apart is that we have had governing experience. The ANC has had 20 years of governing experience, and the DA has had 5 years of governing experience in the Western Cape. And let me say that we've shown what can be done. In the Western Cape, the pass rate at schools serving poor communities has gone up from 57% to 73%. In the Western Cape, We've seen a decrease in the number of underperforming schools from 85 to 23.
Why don't you hold your thought right
And
there?
so-
There she is, Ms. Pando, saying they've shown it. They've shown you how to do it in the Western Cape. Do you agree?
Well, I would like him to tell us about what they have done in Khayelitsha and Nyanga. Because we have made massive advances in Soweto, we've made massive advances in Tembisa, we've made massive advances in townships that never had support.
So
let us also refer to the entire nation. We've had, yes, 20 years of governance, 20 years of advances, and a further 5 years of advances on its way.
Farouk?
Vuyo, I think we must be extremely severe on both parties, the ANC as well as the DA. And why do I say that? If you take the 2013 annual national assessment results, now here's a fact. In grade 6, only 39% got more than 50%. But let's go to grade 9. And you know what happened in grade 9? Only 2% got more than 50%. In other words, we have children in our school at grade 9 who cannot read. And that must be a severe indictment on both parties. They're not getting it right.
I'm going to give both parties 30 seconds each to respond directly to what Farouk Kassim is saying.
Well, our government introduced the annual assessments on literacy and numeracy and has intervened at all phases of schooling to ensure we improve literacy and numeracy. We have never had a system where we assess young people in school on a regular basis and ensure that the interventions we put in place address our challenges. So an indictment on COPE for not acknowledging that government is attending to the problem and that the problems are in fact...
Dr. Wilmer James, 30 seconds.
I'd like to point out that we cannot find anywhere on the website a copy of COPE's policy in education. What I want to say is that in addition to the annual national assessments that were indicated by Minister Pando, we have independent assessments in the case of the Western Cape, additional tests that are done. We've shown major progress in both numeracy and in terms of literacy. It's a hard task. We've done extremely well. We can do a lot better, clearly.
Okay.
And we will certainly be committed to that.
I'm going to ask you, Dr. Ken, to talk right there. Mr. J.T. Povo, President of AZAPO.
Thank you very much. Let's agree that when it comes to access to education, that has increased. In fact, we had expected it to increase. But the problem that we have, like we said before, is the question of quality. We have very, very serious problems in quality. And if the ANC wants to deny that, well, it's up to them. Dr. Wilmer James and Farouk have referred to the statistics. Why is it that South Africa, we spend more on education but get less in return? And until we deal with that, we can spin numbers and throw learners and children into the classrooms, and they come back having gained nothing. So this country must deal with the issues of quality, and the sooner we face the problem, the better.
Well, AZAPO
Ms. Pando, the ANC can boast about the achievements which are being acknowledged, but the fact of the matter is that at the output end, we're not getting what we deserve.
AZAPO has presented itself as the organization that most understands the impact of racism on a society. But today, they are pretending as though apartheid never happened. This is quite amazing. We're quite amazing. I mean, there is no way in which the African National Congress would deny the fact that there needs to be a significant improvement in quality.
Hold your thoughts right there. Do you deny that apartheid has a role to play in this?
No, we know that. But what we are saying is that very little has been done. In fact, we are very, very clear as AZAPO. We think there is unwillingness by the ANC to take control. There is unwillingness by the ANC to accept responsibility. We can blame apartheid. Yes, there is this legacy of apartheid. But what have they done to destroy education? And if we have the time, we can list those things that they have done. They failed to manage the departments.
From the UTM, you want to add to that?
Common cause, that is state of education has collapsed under the current government. What we should be focusing on is how to remedy the situation.
How do you think should we remedy?
As the UDM, our system of education will first be depoliticize education. To demilitarize both students and teachers. The current government did one small mistake. It had a good system of education, but it made one small mistake.
And that
it
is?
did not demilitarize the students and the teachers.
Okay.
They are still under the 1976 ideology, fighting to render the apartheid government ungovernable.
I'm going to ask the ANC and the DA to respond. I'm going to give you 20 seconds each, unfortunately.
Well, for me, I must say it's quite extraordinary to hear political leaders saying such things. There are massive advances in our country, huge changes. For example, the proportion of young African students
So they have nothing to complain
in higher
about.
education. No, there are challenges. I've said that. The issue of quality, one can deny that you must address it. Accelerated infrastructure programs are underway. Well, of course, Mr. Kasim will tell us where he's going to find the money for the increase.
You're probably going to tell us. I'm going to give you, Dr. James, 20 seconds, very, very briefly. We've run out of time.
I must make this point. Access to education is a major achievement of the national government. But it is a major achievement. But
acknowledgement is being made.
But quality is an issue.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make this point about Honorable Dakobo.
Very, very briefly.
As a former trade unionist in the education sector, he understands the role of trade unions. And SATU, I'm afraid, has corroded education by taking over the
Thank you very much, Dr. Wilmot James from the Democratic Alliance. This conversation continues after this short ad break.
Mercedes-Benz is all what you can expect from a lifestyle brand itself. We are about premium and luxury, we're about fascination, perfection, at the same time responsibility to our communities.
You know, my father was a musician and he loved music. He loved especially choral music.
Now, as a person of color, you can't hit on her like, hello, nice.
Man, they were a great audience. No, I had so much fun performing for them.
Baby, I love.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays, 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Zimbabwe faces its worst food shortage in 4 years. Tens of thousands have begun receiving food aid.
Finally, some help to stave off hunger for at least another month. Cattle ranching Rishavane is the worst affected.
Trade and Industry Minister Rob Davies says he can confirm that South Africa remains open for business.
The bill will confirm that South Africa remains open to foreign investment.
Egerson is showing his hand in preparation of the Chan tournament in January.
Primetime News, daily at 6 p.m. on SABC News.
SABC News plays a critical role in providing unbiased and reliable news. We have a well-established reputation of uncovering, reporting and delivering news. A significant growth in popularity of our news demonstrates the demand for our news content. We continue to provide unrivaled coverage of vital events in and out of the country. Wherever the news is happening, we'll be there to bring them to you at the right time. No one has the news covered like SABC News. We lead and they follow. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
That's Sports Live, daily at 8:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. And if you just joined us, you're watching and listening to a live debate on SAFM, SABC 1, Channel 404, and SABC News Online. And tonight, we are talking about education. And tonight's episode is brought to you by SABC News in partnership with the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, as well as the University of Johannesburg. Now, before I ask members of the audience to pose some questions or make comments to our panelists, I want each party, I'm going to give each one of you 30 seconds to say, what do we do to address the issue of quality? Because the ANC and the DA, where they are governing, seem to acknowledge that all is not well. The rest of the opposition parties are also making the same point, that all is not well, but they are saying the failure is with those who are in power. 30 seconds, I'm going to start with the ANC. Ms. Naledi Pando.
Well, I want to reiterate that there have been significant advances and that there'll continue to be success. Firstly, the teacher development issues are matters that must be attended to. Research that we all see indicates we've got to look at teachers' ability to grapple with very complex content. We've also got to look at what happens within the classroom, amount of time in the classroom, use of textbooks. So teacher development is a key area that we will focus upon. In addition, we must ensure that parents, teachers, government, all political parties work together to make education a national matter.
Vuyo, this is what COPE will do. You know, in Uruguay, every single child from primary school up to high school gets a free laptop, and so does the teacher. Technologies are improving, but our schools are deficient in technologies. Number two, I say to both these parties, to my left and right, give us 100 pilot schools to cope, and we will outperform you in 1 year. Forget apartheid, forget all the problems of the past. Give us 1 year,
Farouk Kassim,
give us 100
thank you very much. Dr. Wilmot James from the Democratic Alliance.
There is nothing more important than putting an excellent teacher in front of the classrooms. So what we need is more and better teachers. We need better management. We need better resources. We need better curricula. We need involved parents. We need to start at a young age in grade R. We need appropriate support. We need to reward performance. We need to focus our resources, and we need to support learning. And the most important thing we can all do is support quality, excellent teachers in front of the classroom.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wilmot James from the Democratic Alliance. Mr. James Dikobo, you've got 30 seconds to tell us how AZAPO would address the issue of quality in education.
We need stability in our education system. As policies change, we want to carry those who are involved along. What we have seen is the frustration that educators have gone through every time these things are introduced. So you need an empowered workforce of educators. We want to improve the work ethic in our schools. But where is quality learning and teaching campaign? Where has it gone? Because we have a prescription, but the nation is dying with a tablet in our pocket. Where is quality learning and teaching campaign gone to?
Thank you very much, Ms. Malefane. 30 seconds. How would the UDM do it to address the issue of quality in education?
We can have the best teachers, but if you do not address moral issues, you will not be able to produce quality learned students. What needs to be attended to at first is moral issues which affect religion. Education. For example, returning a religion at school, not Christianity, but every religion, that will produce at least better quality learned people.
Your time is up.
Also,
your time is up, Ms. Malefane. I'm going to ask Mr. Ivo Bakis. I'm going to ask Mr. You've got to behave in that corner because there's a watch here. We're giving everyone 30 seconds, and we're going to be strict about time. Mr. Ivo Bakis, you heard what the political parties have to say about addressing the issue of quality in education. From where you sit?
Yes, I must agree with the DA on this round. I think it is true that quality sits in the interaction between the teacher and the student. And the idea of having smaller classes, so the DA is proposing more teachers, which I assume means smaller classes to be taught. So the context in which the students need to be taught would be ideal for them to learn. I think that is the main ingredient for quality. But I think one of the things that I think we need to also focus on, and I hear it would be good to hear the panel's response on this one. I think the issue of language is absolutely critical in our context. And we have done really, really badly in terms of mother tongue literacy instruction in the foundation phase. So we need to look at that, and I would like to hear what the panel has to say about that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ivo Bachis is from the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, our host for this evening's debate. I'm going to start with Cope. Your question or comment, you have to be very brief, no long introductions or trying to squeeze in as many questions as possible.
Thanks very much, sir. My name is Jay Philip from the Congress of the People. A question directly to Mr. Farouk from COPE. What is the view of COPE as a passing percentage of grade 12 learners, taking into account that the ruling ANC has further dropped it to 30%? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I hope you heard that question. DA, your question or comment?
My name is Ondela Kepe from the Democratic Alliance. Mine is a very simple question or more of a comment. Ms. Naledi Pandor spoke about where we're going to get imali to invest into your education for access. And I believe that the ANC genuinely does believe that they have a good story to tell. But the fact of the matter is that story is not a good story for a majority of South Africans. And at the end of the day, when we have 30 billion a year being taken by corruption, and we still have the audacity to pose the question, where is this money going to come from for education? ANC, I don't think that's fair to all South Africans.
Or comment? ANC? ANC?
Thank you, Vuyo. My question is directed to the ruling party, and it relates to the issue of the class of 2013, because there is a misperception that there are rates that were being lowered. So I'd want the chairperson of council to unpack what is it that the ANC has done in terms of making sure that there's quality there in that particular area.
Thank you very much, ANC.
Okay.
UDM?
Thank you. My name is Mongameli Bobani. My question is directed exactly to Comrade Malefane. Comrade Malefane, as you know, that the ANC has totally failed the people of the Eastern Cape. They can no longer build more schools. They have run out of ideas. My question, therefore, is, what is the UTM, as the UTM is going to take over on the 7th of May? Now, my question is, what are the reforms that the UTM is bringing to the people of South Africa on the 7th of May as they are going to take over? Thank you.
Your time is up. Let's get a question or comment from AZAPO.
My name is Lungletik. I think mine is just a simple comment, and the comment goes as follows. I think it's very interesting that after 20 years, once again, we're told we must be patient. The fact of the matter is that the ANC has been given more time, and if they're given more than they had, then we're wasting our time. The crisis in education is a crisis, and unless you declare it a crisis, you won't see it as such. Our people have been lied to for many years. In fact, greed has taken over, and that's a fact of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are going to get responses to all those questions. Remember, we can take tweets and SMS, but here's the first tweet from Charin Clark, joining us from home. She says, the state of education, crisis, travesty, unforgivable, corrupt. That's how she sums it up. Sbozita Mgwengwe says, the commitment, that's the key word. We need a government that can account. Luvo Vimbani says, perhaps Ms. Pando should go tell those kids in the Transkei that they have a good story. Well, we're going to get the panelists to respond to the questions that were asked earlier, but for now we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Gaming enthusiasts, including us here at Network, indulged in over 80 exhibits that included the Xbox One and Nintendo. Visitors also got to try out PlayStation 4 computer entertainment system, which was unveiled at Rage 2013.
I just came here to see the Xbox One and the PS4, see which one I'd buy.
If you have close to 400,000 Rand to spare, then you can buy the new UHD TV set. Samsung has launched cheaper models, but cheaper doesn't necessarily mean cheap. South Africa has just received the country's first surgical robot, but the robot isn't quite taking over from your surgeon just yet.
That's Network, Sundays, 7:30 p.m. on SABC News.
With so many bad incidents happening around us, we continue sourcing, unpacking and televising nation-building and compassionate stories. From the nation's pride, those who go all out, top achievers, hard workers, those dedicated to making this country a better place, and unusual friendships. Catch all these and more on SABC News.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you're watching and listening to a live debate coming to you from the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University in Port Elizabeth. Those are our hosts for this evening, alongside the University of Johannesburg. And tonight, we are talking about education. I think the panelists did hear the questions that were specifically directed at them. Let me start with you, Ms. Pando.
Well, Vuyo, let me begin by saying to AZAPO that 20 years is not enough and will govern for another 20 years. Secondly, and let me also say that there's a very poor understanding. There's a very poor understanding of what it takes to get one of the 5 different certificates that one can achieve in the National Senior Certificate. This banding about of the minimum pass, which is 30%, is a total disingenuous attempt to pretend that there isn't a change in the quality requirements in the National Senior Certificate. You have a bachelor's pass right down to a certificate pass for universities of technology. So the notion that all there is a 30% pass is an absolute misuse of information freely available to every South African.
Mr. Farouk Kassim?
The fact is that although we have these different levels of passes, by introducing the 30%, the ruling party lowered the bar instead of raising the bar. And many people are saying that now that quality of education with 30% is either equal to or even worse than that which was offered in the apartheid period. COPE will not allow such a 30% pass to exist for whatever reason. You cannot devalue it. That's a travesty that has to be corrected immediately.
Mr. Kassim can say that because he knows COPE will never govern. So.
We are saying give us 100 schools and we will show you.
So he'll say that, yeah.
Well, let's hear from the Democratic Alliance, Dr. Wilmot James.
Let me say that Umalusi, the examinations body Umalusi has said that we must move towards a 50% pass rate. It doesn't happen overnight, but we have to get there in order to raise quality. But let me put another question, getting down to basics. ANC-run provinces still cannot deliver textbooks to schools. They cannot do that. They cannot do it in the Northern Cape. They cannot do it for Limpopo, and they cannot do it for the North. It's a very basic thing, and it's a result of severe incompetence when it comes to the provincial authorities under ANC management.
You can't even deliver textbooks, Ms.
Western Cape, DA-governed Western Cape, is finding itself unable to place children in school. It's finding itself unable to support all communities. The DA knows that it has gangsterism in schools today, that children are being shot, security is not being provided in schools that are threatened by gangsterism.
Dr. James, very briefly.
Minister Naledi Pandor forgets that the South African Police Service is under national control, not under provincial control.
Thank you very much. I want to come to Mr. Jake Diko.
No, thank you very much. Just on the issue of books, I was in my constituency 3 days ago, and one old man asked me, why is it that the brewery is able to deliver beer weekly and government is unable to deliver books once a year? He said they must go ask the brewery where they get these plans to do this. But look, it's a shame that as we talk now, we're still giving explanations as to why children are not getting books. I think Honorable Pandor must agree that it's unacceptable. It's
Mr.
unacceptable.
Is exaggerating because he knows that in 2013 there was a particular problem, and Mr. James, it's not all provinces, it was one province. The problem was resolved. So out of the 8 provinces we govern, 7 out of 8 had books on time. This year, all 8.
You want a quick response?
No, I can respond. I'm willing to take Minister Pandor to schools. These schools were named in papers today. But I knew that even before I came here, before I read the papers, they don't have books now in Limpopo. There are schools that are without books.
Ms. Malefane, UDM.
What would be the importance of delivering books on time when the teachers do not have a definite syllabus, when the teachers don't know the syllabus themselves, when the students are pregnant, they are not ready to read the books, when the students are hooked on drugs because there is no religious education, and the only philosophy which is compatible with education is religion. The removal of religious studies has destroyed the school education completely.
Ms. Pandor, do you want to respond to that? Very briefly.
We have a constitutional democracy, as you know. We cannot impose anything such as any religion on schools. There are schools that continue to observe religious practices. There are schools that are run by different religious communities. But we as parents and communities cannot absolve ourselves of the responsibility to teach our children values.
I'm going to ask Tandaza Oya from the South African Democratic Teachers Union. We did invite some teacher unions here. Only COSATU showed up. Mr. Koya, where are you? I want you to, teachers and COSATU in particular, especially in this province, but in other provinces as well, You have been accused here by some of the parties, but also you know, as a matter of fact, that a lot of people think you are responsible for some of the problems that we're seeing in education today. For example, in the Eastern Cape, many of your members are actually refusing to go where you are supposed to go, where there is a need, that is. Talk to us about SADTU's role.
Thank you very much, Vuyo. Firstly, I think we are here to put the perspective very clear. One, it would be incorrect to say teachers have refused to go. We have recently in the Eastern Cape signed collective agreement number 1 of 2014. And in all schools, almost 98% of schools have actually agreed to follow the prescripts of that resolution. So that where there is...
But very briefly, we don't have a great deal of time, but I want to ask you how that agreement, for example, is helping education. In other words, let's not look at it selfishly from a point of view of a trade union, but talk about how that agreement that you're talking about now is helping or going to help education.
The agreement, we have to be honest to say it is but means to address the fundamental problems in the Eastern Cape.
What exactly?
Where we have to make sure that in each and every class there has to be a teacher coming to school every day, coming to school fully prepared and executing that duty. But then secondly, I think we must agree that SADTU indeed is a progressive teacher union. It is really uncalled for that at this point in time you can hear people saying you need to depoliticize education. Education from its very onset is but cannot be separated from politics. But what becomes critical to it, it's how to make sure that the law and the prescripts of education are dealt with.
Okay, we are going to come to some of the points you raised, but that's after the break. We're going to give some of our panelists to respond to what you have already said so far. For now, though, we're going to take some tweets, hear what people have to say who are sitting at home or driving, listening to us on SAFM. I haven't heard them talking about transport to school. Some kids walk 20 kilometers to school, and that's ace. Nobzin says, but on a serious note, why can't these parties work together and construct something that will improve our country? Sonwabo Jama says, we need parents' involvement to their children's future and to invest more on educators to get good quality results. We're going to give political parties a chance to respond to what SADTU had to say, but also to raise other key points. That's after this short commercial break.
This is the program in which we showcase different aspects of government.
The Northern Cape is a land of many diverse cultures, of frontier history and brave missionaries. It also has countless challenges.
The Northern Cape has been plagued by especially alcohol abuse, rape and common assault and things like that.
More opportunities are being created each year to benefit all in the region.
This is a nation at work.
What time is it? It's question time.
Where are these 144,000 people? Are they only in the Jehovah's Witnesses?
To be honest, that is a question that God only can answer.
But you are more than 144,000, which means the rest are not going to the kingdom.
They are going to live on the earth.
That's question time with me, Mpho Tsedu, Monday to Saturday, 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
A very warm welcome to you at home. This is Afro Showbiz News, the show that brings you all things art and entertainment from around the African continent. Tunisian rapper Ben Ahmed, better known as Clay BBJ, has been released after spending 2 weeks in prison. The arrest came after he was accused of insulting security and violating public morals. The songs sung by the artists criticized the current situation in Tunisia. That's Afro Showbiz. Catch us every Saturday evening at 7:30.
That's Sports Live, daily at 8:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you're watching and listening to a live election debate talking about the state of our education in our country. Unfortunately, we've taken up so much time, and we got caught up in all the heated arguments and have run out of time. I'm going to ask to start with you, Ms. Malefane, in 20 seconds to say if there's one big issue that UDM, as the UDM, you feel so strongly about, what would that be, and where do we go from here?
As the UDM, we feel strongly that you can do anything to put an education system. But if you fail to address moral issues, you'll never produce quality education. 2, take politics away from education. And 3, remove the 1976 uprisings mindset. Demilitarize students and the teachers. Restore the dignity of the teachers. And finally, give an incentive to teachers who have performed correctly, and even teachers in rural areas.
Thank you very much, Mr. James Kobo.
Well, thank you very much. Our people have seen enough. They have heard enough. They are not interested in stories, good or otherwise. Our people want service delivery. They can't wait for another 20 years of mismanagement of funds, of squandering of resources, of mad classrooms and all those things. They want delivery, and they want it now. And we think AZAPO is in a position to provide that kind of service.
Thank you very much. Dr. Wilmot James from the DA.
One of the biggest problems with building better schools and having excellent teachers in the classroom is the political interference on the part of SATU. And SATU has compromised quality education, and the reason why the national government wants to do nothing about it is that they need SATU's vote in order to get President Jacob Zuma re-elected.
Farouk Kassim?
We would do 4 things. 1, we would correct the vocabulary deficit. Number 2, we would give attention to the gateway subjects of maths and physics. Number 3, we would make sure the teachers come to school. Last year, they were absent for 1 month collectively. And number 4, we would increase the status of the
Thank
teachers
you very much,
as
Mr.
in Finland.
President Jacob Zuma was absolutely correct to make education priority number 1, and he will be elected again on the 7th of May. Teaching and learning campaign is very much alive. That's why we have improvements in education. We've laid a strong foundation, and teachers have been a part of achieving the successes.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much to our guests. Thanks to you for being a wonderful audience. We've run out of time. That's where we're going to leave it for this evening. Thanks very much. See you again next week, same time.